First started doing the conventions, which was recent. I mean, I think the first one that I ever did was in October. I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified of you fans because I thought that you would hate me because of what I did with some of your beloved characters on the show. But everybody's been really nice, though. I can't say that like I've had any really crazy experiences. I get strange gifts sometimes. Like I got like a severed hand that was supposed to be like a cell phone case. It was supposed to hold a cell phone. I'm not even sure what it was made out of. I get some like cool artwork and stuff, but no one's acted that nuts. You know, it's funny though. I was doing a convention in San Francisco a few weeks ago, and they put my table right next to Lawrence Gilliard Jr., who plays Bob, and people were not happy with that. They were very unsettled by that. They were like, no, you got to get these two away from each other. This is going to get ugly. I love Lawrence, but you know, people just see Gareth and Bob, I guess, when they see us next to each other.
I want to know how you got that severed hand through the TSA. Like, oh, it's just my phone case. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, they didn't. That wasn't flagged. I don't know. It makes me a little nervous too. It's like, what is going on here? I don't know how far I want to push this with the TSA people. If I bring like a hand through security, I don't know what that says for Homeland Security.
Sanitizer, it's got to be your hand.
Right. Yeah, hand's fine. Severed hand, yeah, you're good. Severed foot, okay. They probably, I don't know, maybe they recognize me and they're like, oh, it makes sense for him. That's cool. It's his snack on the flight home.
So your character is kind of a little different in that it wasn't a direct kind of port over from the comic books.
Right.
So does that kind of give you a little bit more freedom, or was it almost kind of more, a little bit more intimidating that you kind of had to create this new character?
Both a little bit. It does give you a little bit of freedom, but I got really lucky because the character is obviously based on Chris from the comics. I mean, some of the stuff that he says is directly from the comics, and I'm a fan of the comics, and I was familiar with that art, the Hunter's art, and I loved some of the speeches that Chris gave in the comic book, and I was really hoping that some of that would make it into the show, and it did. So I loved that was there, and that I got to say those things and do those things. Now, since the character is introduced in a very different way, there were some different things that I could play with. And one of the things was, for those of you who read the comic book, Chris, he's kind of a disorganized guy. You know, it's like these guys live in an abandoned house and they talk about how they're bad at surviving and they don't know what they're doing. Gareth is clearly different. He's a very organized guy. He created this entire society at Terminus. So it was fun to be able to play a version of Chris, but a much more calculating, almost more intelligent, more cunning version of that character. It is challenging. It does make it a little bit difficult because you do have to, bring certain things to it that aren't there in the comic. But a lot of that, you rely on the writers too. The writing was really good, and Scott Gimple knew what he was doing with the characters, so I could kind of trust them and use them as a guide for where I was going with it also. Yeah.
So we have some fans over here. Do we have a question for Andrew?
Hey, happy birthday! Did you hear that, everybody? Happy birthday to this girl over here. Let's get that.
And my question, what was your favorite part being here?
I was well fed on set every day. My favorite part. I mean, my favorite part is just that I got to play Gareth. I mean, it's when I got the job, I did not know who I was going to be on the show. It's top secret, so you don't really know. You don't know if you're going to be a good guy, a bad guy, whatever. When I started reading the scripts, I could not believe my luck because I knew that on the page, it was going to be a memorable arc in the show, It was so well written, and I had never seen anything quite like that on TV. So the scene that I shot with Lawrence at the end of episode 2, where I eat Bob's leg, is one of my favorite scenes that I've ever done on TV. I mean, it was a blast, because it was so bizarre and crazy and gruesome and weird and real in a way too. So I loved it. I like it. Thank you.
Good morning, Andy.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thanks. So my question for you is, anything that particularly put you in the mindset for Garrett's character to get you into that, so his kind of psychotic way he is and everything? I mean, a little bit, but yes. Anything that got you there?
Yeah, it's a good question, but honestly, that wasn't something that I tried to focus on too much. Getting into the mindset of a guy who would go to these lengths to survive, because the reason why I didn't feel like it was important to go there was because the context, the world that these characters live in, and the context of this character being a cannibal and literally cooking somebody in front of them, that's all in the script, and that's all in the sets, and the art department and the direction, they take care of all that. So that does the heavy lifting. For the actor, it's more about what am I trying to accomplish in the scene? Because Garrett doesn't think of himself as a psychopath or crazy. You know what I mean? Right, so it wasn't important for me to think too much about like what do I have to do mentally to go there. It was about thinking about why am I in this scene? Why is Gareth cooking Bob in front of him and eating him? Well, the answer is that he's trying to scare him and intimidate him. We find out that he's not there to kill Bob. You know, he wants to terrify him and then let him go and send him back to Rick and the group so that he will show them what happened and that they will freak out and scatter and it'll be easier to hunt, you know? So for me, it was just about how would I intimidate? So how would I go about intimidating somebody in that setting? And that's what you want to focus on. You know, because look, I've said it before, you're gonna look crazy no matter what you do or say if you're eating somebody's leg in front of them. You're gonna look nuts. You don't have to try to look crazy. You're going to look crazy. You know, so the writing and the work that the art department did and the directors did, that did a lot of the heavy lifting in that regard. And then I was free to just focus on the intention, you know, Garrett's intention in that scene. And I think that's always the most important part, because that's when you get the really good, real stuff out of the scene. Yeah, thank you. It's a good question. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I want to ask you, you know, there's so much kind of dark, heavy material on The Walking Dead. How did you bring some levity to the set, or was it always just kind of like, I can't imagine a somber.
It does get a little somber, and it does get heavy. It can't not. You know, I mean, like you said, when you're dealing with that kind of material, it is going to get a little bleak. But I think that helps sometimes. But the way that you offset that is you have the celebratory moments when you can. In that vein, when we were shooting the church scene in episode 3 of this season, the scene in which Gareth gets killed, it's a very intense scene. It was very tense on set. It was kind of quiet. Everybody was in like a dark sort of mood, you know? And it worked for that scene, but as soon as the scene was over and we felt like we had gotten it right, you know, there was this sort of celebratory explosion, you know, where everybody kind of cheered, and like Andy Lincoln and I just sort of hugged, and we were like, oh, we got it, you know, this is great. So then you have those moments, and then you're sort of back as a family, and you can enjoy each other's company, and you can enjoy being around each other. And look, I mean, this cast, they're really tight-knit. Everybody, you know, lives down in Atlanta together. They go to dinners on the weekends. They hang out after work, and that goes a long way, too. But you do have to stay in it to a certain degree when you're actually working to make sure that that comes across in the show, because it's a dark show, and it's very heavy most of the time, too.
Is it kind of hard at the end of the day to kind of, was it hard to leave Gareth behind and go back to being Andrew?
Well, you know, I mean, I'd like to think, as crazy as this might sound, I'd like to think that Gareth is just me in a lot of ways. And I mean, I'm not going to go eat anybody's leg tonight or tomorrow or whatever. I hope. I don't think that's in my near future. But again, like, you know, we were talking about the important thing is finding the intentions of the scene and what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And, you know, if Gareth is trying to intimidate Bob or scare Bob, I don't think so much about how is he going to do this, it's how would I do this, you know, because I want it to come from as real, as organic as a place as possible. But you know, whenever you play a certain character, it does kind of stick with you a little bit, and you do turn up aspects of your personality, I think, to kind of fit what you're doing. And sometimes it can be hard to shake that. But I didn't want to let go of this character. I mean, I had a blast playing this guy. It was so fun. It was so fun and so unique for me that it was kind of tough to let him go. I tried so hard to keep that leather jacket. Man, I love that leather jacket. They wouldn't give it to me. And I didn't get it. I didn't get it. It's probably for the best. I don't really need to be wearing like a ripped up, blood-stained jacket around. I'd probably be freaking people out more than I already do.
So, you know, Fan Fest, everyone here kind of has their own geeky fandom. What is your kind of geek pleasure?
Geek fandom? I was really big into comic books when I was a kid. I kind of moved away from it a little bit as I grew up, but I'm a big baseball fan. I love baseball. I'm a Los Angeles Dodgers fan. I grew up actually a White Sox fan because I grew up in Indiana, not far from here. And they still kind of hold a special place in my heart as far as the American League goes. I've been in LA for a long time now, since I've converted. But I geek out over baseball pretty hard.
You excited for the season starting?
Yes, we're a month away. I can't wait.
So are there any, if you could have like your dream role, whatever it would be, what would that character be? That one you're like, I gotta get that role.
A dream role, just sort of in general, or something that's already.
I think maybe like in general, like maybe it was a superhero role, or maybe you always wanted to, you know, it could be a role that already exists.
Right. I've always been drawn to the darker stuff a little bit. There was a movie that came out this past year with Jake Gyllenhaal called Nightcrawler. Anybody see that? I thought it was a really cool movie, and Jake Gyllenhaal was amazing in it. I thought he was so good. But watching that film, I was like, man, that is something that I would like to do. That was a film that I saw recently that I was like, that kind of character is like, that kind of stuff is right up my alley, you know. I mean, I gotta say though that Gareth was, you know, this has always been one of my favorites for me. I know it will be, no matter how much longer I do this, no matter how many more years I work or how many different characters I play. This guy's gonna be, you know, he's gonna be special to me forever. Yes.
So now you're off the show. What's next for Andrew J. West?
Yeah, a couple things. You guys, so I've got this movie coming out on Friday called Walter. Those of you who have come and visited me at my table, I've talked your ears off about it probably at this point. But you can come, if you want to come to my table afterward, I've got some posters and some stuff that you can take. But I did this film called Walter. It's coming out on Friday. It's going to be in theaters in select cities. It's going to be on demand. It's a really fun movie. I play a guy who believes that he's the son of God, and it's up to him to decide if people go to heaven or hell. I start to get visits from a ghost, and he starts to take me on these crazy adventures. It's a comedy, it's a drama, it's kind of a little bit of everything. Jim Gaffigan's in it, William H. Macy, Justin Kirk, Milo Ventimiglia, really great cast. So that's coming out Friday. You guys got to check that out. And I'm getting ready to shoot a pilot for the CW called Dead People. Another show with dead in the title. And you guys can see where this is going. But I'm getting ready to shoot a pilot for the CW called Dead People. It was written by Tom Capanos, who is responsible for Californication. Really great TV show. So we're going to go up and shoot a pilot in a week in Canada, and hopefully we make a great pilot, and hopefully we will see it on the air in the near future. So you guys got to keep your eye out for that also.
All right, well, unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for coming to, coming to this, coming to see us, coming to support the show. We really, really appreciate it. You guys are the best. Best fans ever. Thank you.
Andrew J. West, ladies and gentlemen.